तुमसे कम कोई मंजिल नहीं, खुशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में, सरफरोशी की तमन्ना।
I am Colonel K.C. Subbaya, belonging to Kanratanda family. I joined the army in 1969 and left the army in 1995. Since then, I have been here and in Mysore, and here I have joined some of the social service wings, mainly to promote the defense forces in Kodagu. I won't call it as Kargil war, I will call it as Kargil conflict. You see, we had both Pakistan and India had an understanding, there is nothing in writing, but we had an understanding that the posts which get covered in snow during winters will be vacated by both the sides, and we would go back to the barracks during the period of snowfall. And these are called winter vacated posts. There are about 130 of them in Kargil sector. Well, Pakistan, you know, they can't be believed, and General Musharraf, ever since the 1971 war, he wanted to avenge the defeat. You know, India won a decisive battle, decisive war in 1971, and since then Pakistan is trying to avenge that defeat. You know, every day in their roll call they say that they will avenge their defeat. And Musharraf, we do not know whether he has informed the civil establishment there, but he decided to enter India and cut off the Srinagar-Leh route at the Kargil sector. And this road, Srinagar-Leh, is about 300 kilometers, and if that is cut off, complete Ladakh will be cut off. Ladakh has two districts, one is Leh, the other one is Kargil. Kargil was then held by one brigade, Indian brigade, with 3 infantry battalions. And it is, I will have to admit that it is our intelligence failure, the failure of RAW, the failure of IB, that we did not know that the Pakistani troops had reoccupied the Indian posts coming within the Indian territory 5 to 10 kilometers in that sector, in Kargil sector. It was only because of the people who are grazing cattle that we came to know, and certain ex-servicemen who were settled there, the Indian army came to know that Pakistan has reoccupied the Indian posts which were vacated by us as per our understanding, 130 posts. And soon after the Indian troops heard of this, they sent a five-men probing team to find out whether what the civilians have said was true or not. This setup was headed by Captain Kalia. Kalia went with 5 people to see whether our posts were intact. The moment he went there, a platoon of Pakistani forces surrounded him, and they were all taken prisoners. And you would have heard, read in the newspapers how these 6 of them were treated. Their eyes were gouged out, their eardrums were punctured, their genitals were cut off, and finally they were shot through the head. I mean, it is never done. Fauji, if he is captured, he should be treated. There is a protocol, word over, how the a prisoner of war has to be treated. But Pakistan failed in that, and they showed no mercy on these 6 people whom they had captured. After Kalia and his patrol did not return, they did not return for 24 days. It's only Radio Skardu which announced that Kalia and the entire patrol has been captured. And that's the time Indian government knew that Pakistan Fauj had occupied, Pakistan Army has occupied our posts. Till then, everyone thought it was only some terrorists, Pakistani terrorists who had occupied those things. So an all-out battle was in the offing. In the brigade that was there, in Kargil brigade what we call, there were 3 infantry battalions. I think 13 Jack rifle, 18 grenadiers and 8 Sikh. All 3 were pressed into attacks. See, you must understand the significance of heights in war. Our posts were in a height ranging from 15 to 18,000 feet, and the Pakistanis had occupied them and they were looking down on us. So if you have to recapture those posts, it involves vertical climbing or climbing from behind the enemy lines. Now climbing behind the enemy lines, they had covered it very well. So the only choice left was to climb the vertical heights. Our young officers with troops, you know, each infantry battalion has got Ghatak troops, that is Ghatak platoons. You know, the moment any emergency happens, the Ghatak platoon is put into action. The Ghatak platoons under young officers went and dislodged the Pakistani troops at great loss of life, but with great valor, great courage and great, you know, we had so many loss of lives Indian troops had, but ultimately they all took back the posts that the Pakistanis had surreptitiously taken over. I must tell you about few young officers who had shown great courage, leadership and personal leadership and took back the posts. I'll name only a few of these young officers and the young sepoys who took active, not only active part, they had daring attacks. Of course, Kalia I have spoken about. Vikram Batra. You have heard the advertisement, "A Dil Mange More," and Vikram Batra coined this, "Dil Mange More." He said, "This, I not only this one post, I want to take more posts. A Dil Mange More." That was coined by him. He conquered point 4875. He is from 13 Jack rifles. You know what he said? He said, "I will either come back after raising the Indian flag in victory or return wrapped in it." And unfortunately, he returned wrapped in it, and he was awarded the highest award of Paramveer Chakra posthumously. There is another young officer among many young officers, many officers who took daring actions here. There is another officer, Lieutenant Balwan Singh of 18 Grenadiers. He was called the Tiger of Tiger Hills. Tiger Hills was recaptured by him and his Ghatak platoon. He took the most unlikely path up the Tiger Hill, steep and treacherous. For 12 hours continuously, his platoon and he and his platoon climbed the vertical hills and reached the top. The Pakistanis never expected this to happen, and they were taken by surprise, and their bunkers were destroyed by these people before the Pakistanis acted. He is now a full colonel, and he got a Mahavir Chakra for his acts. Grenadier Yogendra Singh Yadav. When I say grenadier, is sepoy. Sepoy in the grenadier battalions is known as a grenadier. Grenadier Yogendra Singh Yadav of 8 grenadiers. He was all of 19 years old when this Kargil conflict happened. And he went with his Ghatak platoon, and he was the only survivor in that. He received 15 bullets in this operation, but nevertheless he strapped his hand with his belt and bandaged his leg and climbed on top, killed 4 enemies before silencing the automatic weapon. The moment the Pakistani automatic weapons were silenced, the remaining Ghatak platoon people retook that post. And for this act of valor, Grenadier Yogendra Singh is now a Subedar or Subedar Major perhaps. He received this Paramveer Chakra, the highest military award during war. Major Rajesh Adhikari, also of 18 Grenadiers. He was involved in recapture of Taluling. It is at a height of 16,000 feet. He was fired upon during the conflict and he succumbed a day later. He was in the Indian territory, but however they could not recover the body because the Pakistanis were active there, and after 13 days his body was recovered and he was awarded posthumous MVC. Lieutenant Manoj Kumar Pandey of 1st 11 Gurkha Rifles, he was the main in the recapture of Kalubar. Though he suffered bullet injuries during the climb, he reached the top of the cliff and burst enemy bunkers before succumbing to the injuries. You know, firstly, to take part in a battle itself is a great honor, and giving life there, that is being martyred, is the greatest honor that Fauji can expect. That greatest honor he achieved, but not before he recaptured Kalubar. My regiment, 106 Engineer Regiment, was also involved in this operation. They were in Batalik sector. They not only were involved in the engineer tasks, they also took up positions like infantry, and they did very well. They got theatre honor for this conflict, and you see, finally the Pakistani troops had to leave this Kargil sector. Now the Kargil brigade, which was a brigade, now there is a division. Major General Bansi was commanding that division before he went on promotion as Lieutenant General. And also a 37 Coog Regiment was in Kargil recently. So, gentlemen, it's a great honor for me that I have been called upon to give some information on Kargil sector. I retired much before Kargil happened. I also have read all these things from newspaper. I have read from the other news. I have heard from my friends, and that's how I know this much. But the fact remains, valor was at the peak during the Kargil war, and my hats off to them. God bless the Indian Army. God bless India. Thank you very much.